right, and welcome, Hoosier fans, to another off-season edition of the Assembly Call. For the first time in a while, not an emergency edition of the Assembly Call, as at least as of yet, as of me recording this, there is no breaking news to report and do a live show for. Except, well, there is this one bit of breaking news, which is that Tamar Bates, Indiana's recent commit, who'll be a freshman incoming this season, is all the way up to number 23 in the latest ESPN rankings. So this is a guy who was around like 100 and has now jumped all the way to 23, which is right at that kind of 5-star, 4-star cutoff. If you weren't excited enough yet about him coming to Bloomington, this is just even more reason, because his recruiting stock is, on an upward trajectory about as much as anybody's. So this is a guy who's really kind of moving up. People think really highly of him. I think he's going to play a lot of minutes as a freshman. We'll see. It's a freshman. You don't want to put too many expectations on him. But he's a guy that projects to do pretty well. And that makes the guest for this special edition episode of the Assembly Call very appropriate, because it is the guy who had a large hand in recruiting him to Indiana, as he has had a large hand in recruiting a lot of guys to Indiana recently, and a lot of really good players at all the stops where he has been a coach, and that is Kenya Hunter. Really appreciate Kenya giving him 30 minutes of time earlier today. 30 minutes of time is it's kind of an interesting amount. It's not quite enough to build rapport and really go into depth on stuff, but it's plenty to have a really good conversation. I was prepping for it and putting all these questions together, and I realized I had about 3 hours worth of questions, so had to kind of pare them down. But really tried to think about what some questions are that that you guys would want to ask him. Stuff that we've talked about on the show that I've seen in comment sections, that type of stuff. And so wanted to ask him some of those questions, and he's great. Really insightful. Gave some insight on on last year's team and what went wrong with last year's team. Looking ahead to this year, the first year with Coach Woodson, what makes Coach Woodson special as a coach that he's learned already, why he thinks having a full summer is going to be so important for this team in particular. Of course, we talk about his tweet from the other day, which I labeled as the greatest tweet in IU basketball history. That was obviously about Tamar Bates. If you didn't see it, it was this tweet where it was really simple. It was the eyes emoji, a fire, and then a winky face. And then it's got the 50 Cent gif where 50 Cent is like, he stopped at a stoplight and kind of looking out the driver's side window. And then all of a sudden he drives off with this big smile on his face. And so obviously it was in reference to, to Indiana landing Tamar Bates. Now, coaches can't talk about players until they're actually signed. So Tamar Bates and also Miller Kopp from Northwestern, those guys are both committed, but they're not signed. So he couldn't talk about those guys. I wasn't going to ask him about them, but I did ask him about the tweet, so we got kind of the behind the scenes on that tweet. Talked a little bit about his time at Northwestern, because obviously he worked there with Michael Lewis, and also noted Indiana basketball fan Tim Miles, who has a great story. If you didn't hear it when we interviewed him over on Podcast on the Brink, Tim Miles has a great story about how he once tried to break into Assembly Hall. So we talked about that some. But, a wide-ranging conversation, but hopefully it covers some of the topics that you guys want to hear from. But I just think it's great hearing from Kenya. He is a guy who, coached at UConn, coached at Nebraska, coached at his alma mater, Duquesne, coached at Georgetown, was obviously, built a reputation as a recruiter, but I think he sometimes gets a little bit miscast as just a recruiter. This is a guy, as we talk about, has been in charge of the defense at pretty much every stop he's had. Now, what his responsibilities will be, how that's going to shake out with the new staff, he doesn't know yet. We don't know yet. But he is a well-respected defensive coach. And so, a lot has been talked about, hey, Dane Fife's here to manage the defense while Coach Woodson does the offense. Let's slow down just a minute on that. We've got two guys in Fife and Kenya Hunter who were excellent defensive players. Fife is known as the all-time steals leader at IU. Kenya Hunter, he played at Duquesne from 92 to 96, averaged more than 2 steals a game. That's a lot of steals. That shows you a guy who's playing hard on defense, who's active on defense, a smart defensive player. So, I of all the things I've been impressed with over the offseason as I've kind of dug in and learned more, I think I'm as impressed with Kenya Hunter as anything. And I know that there's a lot of talk about Dane Fife being coach in waiting. I don't think that title has ever been officially bestowed or anything. And Coach Woodson hasn't even coached a game yet. All I want to say about that is I would slow down just a little bit on just thinking Dane Fife is the only guy on the current staff who could make a great head coach and would be the obvious choice. I think Kenya Hunter is going to be an awesome head coach somewhere. Hopefully we're lucky enough to have him for as long as Mike Woodson is here, to where that could be a conversation once Mike Woodson leaves. Because I think at some point, if not soon, then some point in the future, he's going to be running his own program and doing a great job with it. This is a guy who, you listen to him talk, and his philosophy, so much of it comes back to relationships. The reason why Indiana got Xavier Johnson, this is a guy he recruited at Nebraska, built a relationship with him, built a relationship with his father. Xavier Johnson commits elsewhere. He's at Pittsburgh. Kenya Hunter is at UConn, different places. But the relationship maintained. And so when Xavier Johnson was going to transfer, Kenya Hunter was able to have that trust immediately and bring a kid who has never even been to Bloomington to come here because they have that relationship. And so much about coaching is relationships. And so much about coaching moving forward, even more than it's been in the past, is going to be about relationships. Because as he talks about, you're constantly recruiting your own team now with the new transfer portal rules. And culture is going to make such a big difference, because you've got to create something players want to be a part of, or they're going to constantly be looking elsewhere, trying to see if the grass is greener on the other side. And I think Kenya is a guy who really understands that just viscerally. It's just how he is. He's a relationship guy. And I think the people who are relationship guys at their heart are really going to succeed in the future of college basketball. So I'm ecstatic that he is back. He's such a great asset for the program. I think he's going to be such a huge part of what Mike Woodson is building. So I just really enjoyed the 30 minutes I got to speak with him. I think that you'll enjoy it too. So that is coming up here in just a minute. The only thing I want to tell you about before we do that, I sent an email out to our subscribers on Monday about our private discussion community, which you can learn more about at assemblycall.com/community. The reason I want to tell you about it right now, on Wednesday, April 21st, depending on when you listen to this, is that we are getting ready to raise the price for the community. So right now it's $2.99 a month to join, or $24.99 annually. Definitely hop on that annual price, because it's like a 50% discount. I don't think I did the math quite right when I was setting it up. But hop on that, because we're going to raise the price on Friday. It's going to go up to $5.99 a month, or $49.99 a year. The reason why we're raising it is, our costs of managing the community are going up. We're investing a lot more time in it to deliver a better experience there. And so we're going to raise the price to reflect that. The community is now 2 years old. It has over 1,000 members in it. So I think it's ready for that. The reason why it's a paid community, obviously, number one, is to offset some of those costs, both of the software and just our time to run it. But even more important than that is we are committed to making that a place where it's knowledgeable, insightful, supportive conversation and discourse about the program. A place that any parent, any coach would go into and say, okay, I may disagree with analysis here or there, but these are fans that really care about the program and want the program to do well. That's the ethos of this community. And if that sounds like something you want to be a part of, then I want you to join it. And it's assemblycall.com/community. That's where you go to learn more and sign up. It's a quick process. If you just don't want the annoyance and the toxicity that you get on social media and other places, I think this can kind of be an oasis that gets you out of some of that. And so, we've got a lot of fun things going on there. Steve Green and Brian Evans are going to be doing some AMAs, some Ask Me Anything events coming up. Coach Tonsoni does his coaches corners in there. And it's, and I try to curate discussion with poll questions and different things, and I post some analysis there that I don't post anywhere else. It's just a fun place to talk about IU basketball, other IU sports, and to connect. I feel like the most important part about a community is people connecting with each other. We do virtual happy hours. We get together. It's a real community. That's what we want it to be. And so if everything I just described sounds like something that you want to be a part of, go to assemblycall.com/community. Join us, because the price is as good as it's going to be right now, and you'll lock that price in forever, because then on Friday, April 23rd, we're going to raise it. So anyway, go check it out, assemblycall.com/community. I hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, here now is my interview with Kenya Hunter. There you go. I got you.
How you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not bad. A little morning yoga with the team.
Ooh, very nice.
Yoga. Yeah. So
very nice. You guys must be feeling good. Do you get out there and do it with them?
I did this morning. It's first time. So it was a small group at 9 o'clock and then a bigger group at 10.
Yeah.
So Rob Fennessy and Chill and Coach Yashir was in the first group. We went early. We went early.
Nice.
So, yeah, yeah.
Nice. Man, I'm a few years removed. I had a pretty serious yoga regimen going on back before
Did
my
you
yeah, back before my daughter was
pre-COVID?
born.
That.
Yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
was
yeah,
this
yeah.
was a good like 6 7 years ago, and
Oh,
you know,
okay.
back when I was single and had all the time in the world, and but man, I felt great. You know, I need to get back to it.
You know what? It relaxes the mind. And
It does.
I used to do it when I was actually at UConn. I did it a lot. I did the hot yoga.
Yeah,
So I got into hot yoga, and I would go at least twice a week. And I actually
yeah,
was the best I felt. But then you get busy in the season, and this was like before the season gets started, and
yeah.
you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, it does.
Can't
It
do
gets
it.
hard, man. It does.
No,
Well,
it
hey,
does.
I just thank you so much for doing this. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
no problem.
You
No
know, we've been
problem.
doing our show now for about 10 years. We do a post game show, and then we do a show every Thursday night.
Okay.
You know, and things have really grown. But my one kind of regret about it is I live in Dallas, Texas, and so
Wow.
you know, I don't really get the chance to to kind of see the coaches face to face, see the players face to face, and it's kind of one of those things. I
Right.
feel like when you're analyzing somebody, it's good to be able to talk to them face to face and kind of have that
Yeah.
accountability. So I
Yeah. Yeah.
appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity to talk to you.
No problem. I'm glad I can be on, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me start out with this. How does it feel to have sent the greatest tweet in IU basketball history? I know you can't talk about the particulars of what inspired it, but just the tweet itself was awesome.
You know what? It's crazy that you say that, and I honestly, I was surprised that things happened the way it did, and I'm thinking late at night to myself. I was like, I got it. I normally don't tweet at all, so
Yeah,
I thought it was due time for it, and it just popped in my mind. And then actually, who helped me was Brian Walsh
did he?
with the with the finishing touches on it. So I got the gift, and he put the finishing touches on it. And I believe me, I didn't know it was gonna explode like it did. My phone kept going off. I was like, "What in the world is going on?"
I think it was brilliant because the
So
best tweets
yeah,
are like that, where they don't specifically say what they're about, but it's like
right,
because of the timing, everybody kind of knows, and it's just okay. Here we
yeah,
go. Here
yeah.
we go.
Here
So
we
it was
go. Here we go. Here we
But
go. So
I think the reaction to that tweet though does kind of speak to the enthusiasm around the
mhm.
program right now. Are you able to get a sense of that? I mean, being in Bloomington, obviously there aren't games, you're not interacting with fans, but are you getting a sense of how enthusiastic people are?
Yeah, a little bit, and just with the response of what we've done in the last couple of weeks, and it starts with the head coach Woodson. Man, he's done a heck of a job as far as setting the tone, especially in the recruiting. When we get on with Zoom calls with recruits, he's doing an unbelievable job of just telling them how we're going to play and what's it going to be about, here at Indiana program. And a guy that's, blood, sweat, and tears who's gone through it, it speaks volumes because, he's kind of like laying the pathway because he's done it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So no, he's been killing it, man. He's been killing it.
Yeah, no, all you guys have, and I know,
Yeah.
I'm certainly excited that you're still a part of it. You know, when the
Mm-hmm.
announcement was made that Scott Dolson was going in a new direction, you know, my
Mm-hmm.
first thought in those situations is always I always think about the assistant coaches because my dad was an assistant football coach at IU in the '80s, and
Right.
so I kind of grew up on that side of it, you know, and kind of seeing
Mm-hmm.
how the wins and losses and the job changes affect the families,
Right.
you know, and knowing
Right.
that you had just moved your family here, how much of a relief just is it for you and your wife and your kids to to have been able to stay on and not have to kind of move again after you just moved?
Uproot myself again.
Yeah,
It's very exciting, man. I can't even explain just how excited I am just to be able to stay here. I've always thought that this place had a lot of potential. From
yeah,
being in the Big Ten before and coming here and seeing how electric the crowd is. So I really didn't get a chance to experience that. And so, when Scott Dolson, asked me to stay on with the transition team. and then continued to stay in contact with me, I felt pretty confident that they wanted me to be here and be a part of the program still. So that was a great feeling, and obviously when they hired Coach Woodson, it was just like I told previous people that I've talked to, it was just like the conversations we had for 2 days were unreal, and I'm elated that he afforded me the opportunity to stay here.
Yeah. Now, when you were at Nebraska, was Michael
hmm
Lewis at Nebraska then too?
Yeah, he actually we worked together for 1 year, and then
Okay.
I ended up going to UConn the following year. So
Okay. And that was obviously
yeah,
under Tim Miles,
yes, yes.
who and so I got a chance to interview Tim Miles for a podcast a couple years ago, and I had no
Mhm.
idea about the love he has for Indiana basketball.
Oh
He
man,
I
yeah.
don't know if you guys ever get a chance to talk about, like, he's got this story about how he tried to break into Assembly Hall one time. So I'm curious if you
He's
guys talked about that, or if those guys gave you any advice for what it was going to be like being at IU.
Yeah, no, well, Miles, that story is crazy. He kept pulling on the doors until one of them he was able to pop open.
Yeah.
So only Tim Miles, man. I love that guy. He actually he's a good coach, and I'm glad he's back up at San Jose State, and I'm pretty sure he'll get that program turned around. But yeah, it's unbelievable. It's Seminole. I can't wait. Hopefully this season we'll have fans and see how electric the crowd can get.
Yeah. Have that was one of the things I was thinking about as I was preparing for this. Have you
Mm,
thought about what that moment is going to be like when you get to for that first game of Coach Woodson's tenure at Assembly Hall? Because obviously you guys didn't get it last year, and it is,
no,
I mean, it is
no,
going to be, with the enthusiasm of the fans, it's going to be nuts. Have you
yeah.
thought about that and what that's going to be like?
I haven't. I'm trying to wait. It's far for the season right now, but I can only imagine just thinking about it. I just know there's going to be a lot of excitement surrounding the program, and hopefully we do our part and take care of home. That's one of the things that Coach Woodson has already told the guys is like we got to take care of our home. That the
Yeah,
goal is to go undefeated at home. You got the crowd and sure we're ready to go every time we take the court here.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So, look, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking back, but there is one
Mhm.
question that I have that you're kind of uniquely positioned to answer, because you were obviously here last year, you're here now.
Mhm.
At Coach Woodson's press conference, when Scott Dolson introduced him, he said that he had a conversation with some of the current players about, what they were looking for in a new coach or a new
Mhm.
leadership. And they kind of
Mhm.
listed three things, more relationships, more development, and kind of a more wide open offense. And I think,
Right.
number three was kind of obvious with some of the offensive struggles, that the team had last year. But I was really
Mhm.
curious about one and two, the relationship and the development part. How did what was your reaction, I guess, when you heard that, and what do you think might have led the players to say that those are the things that they were looking for?
Well, in a program, obviously the players want to get better, and I think from year to year, under Arch's tenure, you've seen improvement with some players. A guy
Mm-hmm.
like Ahmad, who struggled the first year, going into his second year, was able to average 14, 15 points a game and become that second leading scorer. Race Thompson as well, his development. So the development is, in the system, you know what I'm saying? And obviously those guys, the system that Coach Miller had, you know, the guys, it wasn't more wide open, what Coach Woodson is talking about, but it was a system that the guys, continued to try to get better and develop in. And, our biggest issue was, let's call a spade a spade. It was the shooting, and
Yeah.
guys being able to make shots. And it takes time, man. I don't know. I can tell you this. I know the from August until March, we worked on shooting. We spent a lot of time on shooting. It's just some guys, in games it's a little different. The pressures are higher, but it wasn't the normal college season as well. I mean, empty
Yeah.
gyms, and you have to bring your own energy with the team, and it was difficult circumstances for this year. But I think, with Coach Woodson, the style of play that he's trying to implement, I think it's going to be one that the guys are excited about because we are going to push it in transition. We want to play faster, but also, play. It's not going to be fast where you're just going up the court and jacking up shots. Is who can give paint, who can spread out, and getting guys, confident in making a 3-point shot because if you can draw two and get two on you, a guy's going to be open where he can shoot a toe to the line, step in three, and hopefully be better at making those, And
Yeah.
I think by, Trace being back as well, surrounding him, with guys that can, make plays not only for themselves, but help him get easier baskets, that's going to be interesting to see. We'll probably move Trace around a lot, this season. So I'm excited about it. But and then the other part of it is that it wasn't a normal summer last year. Like this summer, this is the time when we work on the individual game. So when you
Mm.
get to September again, guys in the team setting, they're better. You know what I'm saying? With the shooting, the ball handling, decision making. So they
Right.
lost the summer because of, just the COVID and the circumstances we had last year. So hopefully it'll be better, with an older group.
Yeah.
That
You
was a
mentioned
long-winded question, answer right there. I
it was a
apologize.
long-winded question too. So, so no, it was a great answer. You mentioned the shooting.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously that's something that we all hope improves. And I think in an ideal program, you recruit good shooters and you develop them to be even better. But if
Right.
you had to pick one of those that's more important, do you think one is more important than the other? And if so, which one would it be?
I would say get better shooters.
Get better
uh,
shooters.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I also think, percentage wise, like I said, you look at, I use Oman just because, his percentages really went up from his freshman year to his sophomore year,
Yeah.
from the 3-point field goal percentage. So, a year older, more confident, in making those shots. And, just being more confident. I think Rob Finney is a better shooter than what he displayed this past season. And I think, with a new environment surrounding, I think he'll make some shots. He had a couple games where, early on he was able to make threes, and
Hmm.
I can remember, the tournament we played in Asheville. He made two huge threes down the stretch against Stanford. So just getting more and more confident, and and getting more repetition, like getting more reps up. And when you put the time and the work in, you're gonna have bad shooting games. Hopefully, you're able to break out of it here and there. So
Rob's an interesting one. He's one of the most interesting shooters I've seen at Indiana. What I mean by that is, like, it seems like when the pressure is the highest and the shot is the biggest, you have confidence he's going to make it because he's done it so many times through his career, but then he struggles at other times.
mhm.
What do you think accounts for that?
Just like I said, I don't think it was a normal season this past year.
Yeah.
Uh, and just having confidence in yourself. I mean, it was a pressure season. I mean, everyone knows that getting to the tournament was a huge thing. And I thought it was a lot of expectation surrounding that,
Yeah.
and um, when it gets to those last couple games and you're not performing well, the pressure gets to everyone. And so I just think that if they were able to go to the tournament the year before COVID happened, they know the expectation of getting there and what it takes, and they wasn't afforded that opportunity. And so now the pressure is even higher. So I just think that in those situations sometimes it's pressure for everyone, and we wasn't able to come through. But I think now feeling fresh with a new voice, and
Hmm.
just Coach Woodson the way he is, and trying to instill confidence in these guys. I think with Rob, I mean, he like I said, he worked, on his shot and getting his reps up, and I think he'll continue to do that. But hopefully, coming into this senior year, he's a guy that we can rely on to make big plays and make shots.
You mentioned that pressure. Is the majority
Hmm.
of that pressure internal, just, the team and the player's own desire to do well and get to the tournament? Or how much of that pressure is external from fans and from people who host podcasts and stuff? Like, how much does that affect it as well?
I think it's both. To be
Yeah.
quite honest, I don't know which one's more, but I think for the kids, the fans, the social media, what you read, that can be damaging to your confidence. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know how to process it, and you try to tell these kids, man, to stay off social media. I can imagine, playing in this day and age. When we played bad back in the day, you had to get up the next day and read it in the newspaper. But it's instant, feedback as far as your game and the way fans and everyone from the outside critiques you. And
Yeah.
again, if you're not built to process that, that can lead for you having down times, and you just got to be confident in your work that you've put in, and don't listen to the outside noise. And I think it's up to us coaches as well to instill that confidence in our guys. And so,
Yeah.
I honestly, I think a year older, going through it, I think guys will respond a little bit better this year.
And the thing with the noise and the social media stuff, I mean, the cat's kind of out of the bag with that. It's not going to go away. The conversation will
No.
be there.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the ability to just kind of talk to fans who are on there and they want the team to do well, what advice would you give them for, like, what are ways to actually be supportive and helpful of the program with the stuff that you put online as opposed to maybe being a detriment?
No, just we're with you, through ups and downs. We're with you. We support you. But that's, if they had good Twitter and bad Twitter, man, that's what they really need. But I would only look at the good Twitter side. I wouldn't look at the
Yeah.
bad Twitter. But just, like at the end, when they struggle, we struggle making free throws. It was, let's call it what it is. I mean, our guys struggled down the stretch. It wasn't like we didn't practice, shooting free throws and pressure shots and things like that. But just understanding sometimes it's just like when you're making shots, when you're missing shots, that can be contagious as well. And it was one of those things where we started missing free throws, and it really hurt us. But we have to be better. Those are pressure moments that we have to rise to the occasion and deliver. That's what we all get paid for. That's what these guys have worked their behinds off to be at that point and have
Yeah.
those moments. And you got to be able to deliver. So, like I said, I know it was devastating for us last year, but I think those guys, with their work and what they've gone through, hopefully, they can be confident and be better.
Yeah. I was listening to the interview that you did with Hoosier Hysterics recently. I think you did it. You did it last year.
Oh.
My apologies for not giving you the 6-minute intro that Eric gave you. Uh,
Eric is, oh my goodness, he's something special, man.
he is
I can't wait to meet him in person.
he is something
You
special.
know,
Hopefully he's shaved by the time you meet him.
I
Um,
know.
but you said something interesting there. Well, you said a lot of interesting things in that interview, but one of them that stood out to me was that at a lot of your previous stops, you've been in charge of the defense. That's kind of
Mm.
been what you've done. You've done a lot of work with defense. Do you know, with Coach Woodson and kind of with this new group of coaches, what your responsibilities will be, how that'll be divvied up, if there will be kind of one assistant with defense, one in offense? Have you guys had those
Yeah,
conversations yet?
we haven't, but I tell you what, man, I'm excited about our staff. What
Yeah.
Coach Wilson has put together. Having Dame Fife, Yashir Roseman, who I've known, I've seen him from afar, but I know his work and his worth. And then having Thad Matta here, who I've known for a very long time, it's unbelievable. And we kept some continuity with Ben Sanders and Brian Walsh, and those guys have really have been unbelievable with the transition for everyone on the staff. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about, just the opportunity. But to answer your question, we haven't gone into strategies of who's doing what. But, Coach Woodson already said that, when we talk to our guys, it's like he's saying it as well.
Mm-hmm.
He wants us to be, an extension of him, and he's going to allow us to coach, and that's all you can ask for is have a impact and have a voice in the program.
Yeah.
You know,
You laid it out. I mean, the staff on paper is unbelievable. I mean, the
hmm
credentials of everybody that's there. And it's interesting because when you get a team with a bunch of new players, you talk a lot about how important it's going to be for them to gel and how much time it'll take for them to gel. And that's kind of one of my questions now with the staff. Is it is great with everything you guys have done. What is the process going to be like for building the relationships and the trust that you guys will need, to kind of be able to work together? And how quickly can you do something like that when you guys haven't, kind of been through the fires together yet?
yeah, I think we have a lot of experience and understanding that everyone has their role. Um, and just because you have an opinion on something that's you can't take it an offense if it's not used. Like I think we've all been a part of winning programs and understand that, and being responsible enough to make sure that everything is working in order. And at the end of the day, we're trying to do the best thing to put Coach Woodson in the best situation where he doesn't have to worry too much about just the coach. To be quite honest, and that's what assistants are before, and and building that chemistry with our players as well. We have a lot of guys that, again, getting on a court and building sweat equity with the guys. Helps build that relationship and confidence in our staff, and that's what we've done over the last couple of weeks of getting in the gym with our guys and with our staff. There's everyone understanding that it's a responsibility to make sure that we're leading this program in the right direction and being better. It's not about us; it's about Indiana. At the end of the day, and we have to be better.
Mm-hmm. Both you and Dane have talked about, the importance of recruiting to the head coach. Making sure
hmm
that you're recruiting players that are going to be a good fit for him. What is that process like of learning how a player is going to fit with the head coach, and how long do you think that process takes to feel comfortable with it?
Well, knowing Coach Woodson in a short period of time, I know defense is important, and I think the guys that we've recruited up to this point, they have that mentality, and I think they're going to bring value in those areas. And the other thing is, having a voice. Like the more we can get the players when it's a player led team instead of coaches led, that's when you have an opportunity to be a good team. And them using their voice and patrolling each other to be accountable, to maintain what we're trying to get out of, just to work out and staying positive with one another. But that's, we want our guys to patrol themselves and be a player led team instead of a coaches led team. And that's when you got a chance to be special.
Yeah.
So it starts with us though, and making sure the attention to detail about little things are important, and that's what we're gonna try to enforce.
Speaking of Coach Woodson, one of the things people talked about when he was hired is like, man, that guy played in the '70s. No one remembers Coach Woodson's playing days. Of
hmm
current players, which is true.
hmm
They probably don't know who Mike Woodson is off the top of their head, but he's got an incredible story with his time at Indiana, the injury, coming back, winning Big Ten MVP, only playing 6 games. When he tells that story, how much will that resonate with guys that are being recruited to Indiana or guys that are playing at Indiana because he has been there before? Is that going to matter?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, his blood, sweat, and tears are here. He knows what it's about. Some of the things that as far as he's trying to implement here is the stuff he's learned when Bob Knight was coaching him. So, I believe me. I think that the guys are going to understand. He knows ball. You know what I'm saying? Like he, coached at the highest level. Most of these guys, the respect level right there, because he's coached in the NBA where most of these guys want to get to. So there's a level of respect automatically from the get. But I just think that his knowledge and once guys continue to get comfortable with, the system that he's instilling, like they're gonna give him that respect because they're gonna know that, he's a no BS guy, especially on the defensive end and offensively playing together. That's what he wants. So I think no, they'll respect him. Yeah, and if we have to, we get the old film out and show him.
That's right. That's right.
Coach
So
Woody said he could shoot it back in the day,
yeah,
man.
he sure could. He
Yeah.
sure could. Kenya, I know we only have a few minutes left, and I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to end on a couple questions. I could talk IU basketball with you all day, but want to end with a couple
Okay.
questions. One, obviously, you're known as a guy who's been a really successful recruiter, and I'm
Mhm.
curious how recruiting has changed in the time that you've been doing it over the past 18 to 20 years that you've been recruiting high school players. How's it changed?
Just because of the transfer portal. I mean, like, guys want instant gratification, and sometimes you got to go through things to get to where you really want to get to the end goal, and they've made it easier for players now that, if it's not working one way, I just leave. And that's not always good, you know.
Yeah.
So just, I'm big on relationships. I've said that from day one in recruiting, and I think that's important. And I'll stay true to that. If you build a good enough relationship with the families and the kids, they trust in you. And through the hard times and the difficult times that they go through, they'll stick with you. And I think that's a constant communication level that you have to have in order to build that relationship. And so yes, it's changed, but I'm not going to change what's important in my values of recruiting good kids that are respectful, but at the same time, have that mentality where it's not always going to be a good time at the situation that you're in, and just being there for them and seeing them grow. That's the biggest thing. From year to year, you want to see growth
Yeah.
in the individual players. So that's what I'm big on. And yes, it's changed because of the transfer portal, and you got to recruit your own more than recruiting other recruits. Just to make
Yeah.
sure that there's an understanding and where they fit in. That's where recruiting, I think, has changed. I'm not gonna in getting kids program.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question for you, Kenya. I want to go back to something that you talked about earlier with the importance of the summer, and how the guys
Mhm.
didn't have a normal summer last year. And I'm sure all the guys are going to benefit from it. But is there any player, a couple players in particular, you think are really going to benefit this year from having a normal summer and might be in line to take the biggest leaps?
You know what? Because we're having so many new guys come in, I think all of them. I mean, our timeline is to get all the guys in hopefully by June 7th. They get a couple weeks off in May. But once they get back in June, that's when it's really going to start. We're building the chemistry and camaraderie of the team, and we're going to have a good 8 weeks to do that. And so that's the time where we'll see some growth in some guys, just getting them back. But the freshmen that we had last year and having them back, they'll be, they'll work and get better, and hopefully one or two of those guys can, see themselves moving in the right direction and gaining a lot of confidence from having a total summer with lifting and conditioning and, skill development, So I can't point to any particular player, but I think having all our guys here in June is going to help the process.
Even better, all of them. That's what we
Yeah,
want to hear
all
anyway.
of them. Yeah, all of them. So,
Kenya, I really appreciate the time today. Great to talk with you.
yeah.
And good luck with
Dallas,
it.
man. You gotta get you out of Dallas, man.
I, believe me, believe me. I moved here though, married a girl, had a kid, and now, kind of
Hey,
stuck here for a
hey,
little while. But I'm ready to go.
yeah, I understand. Boy or girl? What do you have?
I have a 4-year-old girl, and then we just had a boy, so we have a month-old boy.
Woo. Now,
Hmm.
keep it right there. Keep it right there. Don't get outnumbered. I tell people all the time
I
I
know.
have two as well. I'm not getting outnumbered. I'm done. So
Yes.
yeah, no.
No, we're
That's a
done. We
boy and
we
a girl,
prefer
you
man to
good.
man. No
Yeah,
no
yeah,
zone
yeah.
defenses here.
No zone defenses. No, exactly right. So keep it there. No, but it was good. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kenya. Really appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Have a
Cool.
good one.
All
All
right, you
right.
too.
Bye.
Take care. All right. The great Kenya Hunter, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, really appreciate him taking the time to talk with us. It's one of those, you get the opportunity to talk with a guy like Kenya, and you start kind of preparing and writing down questions, and you realize, oh boy, I've got enough questions for a 3-hour interview, but we only have 30 minutes. But 30 really good minutes. Hopefully, we'll be able to have him on again in the future. A lot of good insight there from Kenya, and like I said, I'm so impressed. And he, outlined, with the staff, just the credentials that this staff has, and all the basketball that they've seen together. As long as they, build the relationships together and get on the same page, it's hard to have anything but a ton of confidence in what they can do. In large part because they're already demonstrating it with the guys that they've brought back who put their name in the transfer portal, the recruits that they've already gotten. He obviously could not talk about Tamar Bates and Miller Kopp, so I didn't want to ask him about those guys because those guys are committed, but they are not, officially signed yet, so he can't talk about them. And he's talked at length about Xavier Johnson, so I didn't want to use the time that we had, to kind of spend more time talking about him. But he has really high hopes for Xavier Johnson. Talked about that at his media availability. So anyway, great stuff there from Kenya. Really appreciate him taking the time. Really looking forward to seeing what he and the staff can do with this team, because as this offseason goes on, I think I speak for everybody listening to this, that there's a lot of enthusiasm, and we needed this shot in the arm because things did not feel good at the end of last season. And boy, I think he's going to be that moment when he and the team and Coach Woodson walk out for the first game. Who knows who it's going to be? It might be against Mississippi Valley State or somebody. Heck, the first exhibition game, I just have a feeling there's going to be so much enthusiasm, because you could feel it the last couple of years. There was so much pent-up enthusiasm for the team, for the program, and I just feel, it needed some hope to latch onto. And now there's hope, and there's even some offseason results to latch onto that I think when the team actually takes the floor, that combined with the fact that no one could go to games last year and there'll be that enthusiasm, I think Assembly Hall is just going to be unbelievable. So, for a guy like Kenya who hasn't gotten a chance to experience that yet as an IU coach, I'm really excited for what that'll be like for him. So thank you for listening to this edition of the Assembly Call. We will talk to you guys Thursday night, tomorrow night. Ryan will be here. He'll be doing his scouting reports. Obviously, we haven't done scouting reports on Xavier Johnson, Tamar Bates, or Miller Kopp yet, because Ryan hasn't been around the last couple of weeks, but we're going to start those on Thursday. I don't know if he's going to do all of them in one episode or we'll space them out. I think he's going to start with Tamar Bates, but we'll just have to see. But we will be doing those, and here on our regular schedule, Thursday night shows, and as news breaks, we'll try to go live. I can't imagine what other news there could be now that the roster is filled, but we'll be here for you. So have yourself a good Wednesday, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow night on AC Radio. And as we always say, keep your elbows in and your eyes on the rim, and go Hoosiers.